Three,
Mr.
two.
Turkington, how are you?
Good afternoon, bud. I'm great. How about you?
I'm just battling and grinding every day, trying to help our first timers get through this nonsense. What a goofy market we're in, especially when you're hearing everything about the interest rates and skyrocketing. I think it was 5.81 average 30-year fixed over the last week from Freddie Mac. Along with those interest rates comes a lot of marketing schemes to show folks some lower rates. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about, what that means to folks, what they should do, how they should go about it. So
We started with this. I was thinking, that it's like the emotional ups and downs, like the rock'em sock'em robots, right? We take a couple, and then you have to push the head back down, get back in. And it is not easy. Huge empathy for people that are in this market trying to get through it. Man, people are resilient though. A lot of the people that we're talking to, I've been so impressed of their ability to try and mitigate some of those highs and lows and just plan a course and stick to it for the most part. And God, it's been good to see. Impressive.
it is, and it is tough. All that spin going on out there, man, if we can get you to 5.49, we can get you to 4.99. And then these folks see these loan estimates with $20, $30, $40,000 tacked onto it. It's just disgusting to watch and to see. And we have to stop the nonsense. Let's stop the madness of the buying down the rate right now. Let's help people understand. So today is Thursday, June 23rd, 2022. A typical 30-year fixed 0-point loan is what today?
Let's say 5.75%.
I love it. Round numbers, 5.75. So when the folks out there are advertising 4.99, what are they doing? Why are
It
they
just
doing
means
that?
well, I guess we'd have to quantify it, but let's say that you're borrowing $400,000. You would have to spend at least $8,000 in closing costs to get the rate to the 4.99 level.
Approximate payment difference between 4.99 and 5.75 is what? You knew I was going to ask you this.
I did. It's
Sorry.
$190. So on 400 grand, it's $190.
All right. So the people buying the homes right now, if you're a first timer, the 8,000 means a lot more to you than the 190 a month, believe it or not, unless it comes to not being able to buy the home, because that 190 affects purchase power. So let's start there. Most of our folks are taking above the 5 3/4. So you are giving them a credit back to offset some of those costs. Is that true or false?
It's 100% true. The last 10 loans we've locked, all 10 of them have taken a rate where there was a lender credit instead of buying down the rate.
And why is that? What? Give me the couple reasons.
Because it makes us more money. No, that's not the case. Our compensation is fixed, and that always comes up in the conversation, right? But what we do is we look at that and say, if we quantify, let's just use that example, right? Where to go from 5.75 to 4.99, I've got to spend $8,000 to get there. I'm going to save $190 a month. That's going to take me 42 months to get my money back, 3.5 years. The conversation right now is that it is highly likely, highly probable that mortgage rates are going to be less than what we have right now within the next 24 months. So historically, anytime our economy has hit a recession, lower mortgage rates have followed every single time. It's 100% true statement.
All right.
So when we look at
Good
that, you've got,
news.
yeah, it's like, okay, do I want to save $190 a month, but I got to fork out $8,000? Or is that $8,000 maybe better spent on consumer debt? Because you'll get a better payment reduction by paying off consumer debt.
Who the heck has consumer debt right now?
Only
Nobody you're
everybody.
talking to.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
You can't look at any of the headlines of, savings rates per household are down in the last quarter. Consumer credit card balances are up. So to answer your question, in general, it's a safe statement to say, if I had $8,000 in consumer debt, generally speaking, that's going to be about $225 to $230 minimum payment, where you're paying the principal down very little, if any. So first, I have to start there. But again, committing $8,000 to buy the rate down, and if rates get to 4.5% in the next year and a half, you've in essence flushed a big part of that $8,000 right down the toilet.
Makes total sense.
So
Absolutely.
that's a first.
Yeah. Like no brainer. So as these prices, we're seeing price drops as we start to stabilize and maybe come down a little bit. Let's hope prices come down a little bit. We're going to start to see what's called seller concessions allowed, which will also allow you to attack some of these closing costs or finance them per se to help. We want to have you have a couple bucks in the bank, your rainy day fund.
Yeah, I would be
zero.
much more a fan of, instead of spending the $8,000, if the seller was going to contribute toward that, of using that money to minimize my out-of-pocket expenses so I hang on to more cash than spending it to buy the rate down.
Okay.
So cash is king, right? That's super
Yep.
helpful.
Yep. So you're showing them, we have all the tools in your toolbox where you're able to show this versus this versus this. Here's your break even. Does it make sense or not? Here's what we think rates will look like in 24 months. This is what it will look like. So why spend that money? If you're dying to spend it, attack consumer debt that you're borrowing at a higher interest rate. We're going to get into that more as we expect another 50 to 75 basis points hike next month in July. It's going to bring prime rate up to 5.5-ish%. It's at 4.75% right now. This is where we're going to get into the spot of, for homeowners, not first timers, but people who own homes, they're going to have to reevaluate their debt position and how they go about restructuring it if they don't have the ability to attack it quickly and pay it down quickly. So a different subject, but it's kind of all working together where we have to understand what's happening in the future to make good decisions now.
Yeah, back to your point of marketing is fantastic to spread the word, but it quickly can the emphasis of trying to make the ordinary seem incredibly extraordinary, that's the part that's just frustrating. And so back to your point of, you just have to really understand the math. It's not real complicated, but these ideas or approaches to say buy the rate down, or get the seller to do this, or get the seller to do that, there's just not a lot of substance to most of that. A small percentage, right? Where we were talking earlier, if you absolutely have to do that in order to get the payment into your qualification range, maybe. But we first need to consider your consumer debt, get rid of that first. So there's a small segment where this may actually make sense.
You and I are sitting in the catbird seat. We're mortgage brokers. The bankers and the banks out there, that's a tough spot they're in. We don't have any overhead.
But the best, and we get 10 lenders where we get to see their rates every day, and we get to see what they've got going on, which is their pricing. In theory, mortgage-backed securities, that's where everybody gets the money from. But then there's the margin factor that these lenders have to operate on, and their margin factor is ebbing and flowing every day because they need loans. So it's fascinating to watch.
Secret hack for all of you out there. Mortgage brokers are required to give you a lender credit. Mortgage bankers and banks are not. So when we're talking about if it's 5.75 for 0 points and Ken brings you to 5.875 or 6, he's required to give you that credit back. The other two institutions that do mortgages, which are about 85% of the.
Yeah, they can adjust their greed factors, what you're saying.
Put it right in their pocket. So keep that in mind, guys. You have to talk to a broker in this environment. Not only do we have the advantage of seeing 10 different lenders that we work with to get the lowest rates, then we take the credit and we give it back to you to offset some of your fees. So we're in a wonderful spot right now to help folks navigate this kind of funky waters that we're in right now.
Well said.
Have you had anybody pay a point or two this year?
Not that I can recall.
Now, last year when we were 2.5, there was some 2.375s. There was some 15-year money and 1.875. We did, correct?
We did.
Okay. We're nowhere near the spot where anybody should be buying any points. That's
right
crazy.
Now.
Okay. So we've said it 6 different ways. Just want to make sure everybody understands. More importantly, call us, reach out to us, text us. Ken has all the visual aids to help you work through this.
Yeah. As long as you can bear looking at them, I'll share as much as we can. Yes.
Awesome. Everybody, please like, share, subscribe. This is going up on YouTube as soon as we hang up. And we appreciate everybody. Have a great day. See ya.